Well, we're here at MDI High School as part of our Meet the Teacher series, and I'm with Mark Puglisi, who is a social studies teacher. And Mark and I have a lot of things in common. He was born in New Jersey. I was born in New Jersey. He's a social studies teacher teaching U.S. history. I was a U.S. history history and economics major in college. So this should be quite fun.
I hope so.
Tell us a little bit. You've been here. You're one of the veteran teachers here at MDI High School.
Yeah, I taught middle school for 8 years in Northeast Harbor, and then I moved to this school in 1997. So I've been teaching kids on the island for 25 years, and I'm beginning to have the kids of my students.
Which is strange.
It is strange. Yeah, it's great. I can still, when parent-teacher conferences, I can still ask the parents to hand in their homework. That's missing because, you know.
My wife teaches at Nokomis, and she's been there since, well, she's been there a long time. She's been there since 1987.
Oh, my.
So she has children of children that she's taught, and it's a little strange without any question.
I often wonder what it's like on the other end, you know, the parents having an understanding of me or an understanding of your wife, and like helping their kids negotiate and like find their way through what to expect from Mr. P. This is probably what he wants. And anyway, it's yeah, it's been fun. I've done all kinds of, not just teaching history, all kinds of different social sciences. Because I graduated with a degree in political science, so that's sort of the way I approach history, as a series of problems that people need to solve.
And oftentimes they repeat themselves.
Yeah, they don't. They don't.
Can you please come to the main office?
Yes, please go to the main office.
It always happens right during the...
Sure it does. And right when I'm making the most important point in class. Yeah, I don't know that there is that history repeats itself, comes around against itself. Sometimes I think of it more of like a double helix, where things come around and you can see a parallel. It's not exactly the same. And I think that one of the problems that people do is that they make false parallels sometimes to make a point, or which is one thing I want my students to learn, is to smell a rat if they see people making a parallel that doesn't quite fit. Or the other thing that people do is they panic and they think that things have never been as worse, and we've never been through this before, and we've never fill in the blank. Whereas if you'd be pretty shocked to see what things have been like in the past. You know, like when you think about political discourse in this country, which has gotten pretty bad in terms of partisanship and mudslinging, you just have to go back a ways and see what people used to do with the founding fathers, no less, in terms of mudslinging, and it gives you perspective.
You're teaching a model UN course.
It's Model UN. It's international relations. Okay. So it's the object of the game is two purposes. One is to teach basically international relations from a fundamental point, a basic point of view, and then it's also preparing them to participate in a Model UN that happens in New York on May 14th, 15th, and 16th.
All right. So this is our commercial part here. You're fundraising.
Right.
You've got a dinner at SIPS.
Right.
You need people to come to that because you're going to raise some funds.
We need people to come. We're trying to raise dollars for the flight and hotel and the program in New York. So we're having a dinner on April 29th, courtesy of Red Sky.
Oh, Red Sky, I'm
Red
sorry.
Sky, that's
sorry.
And it's going to be lovely, beautiful food, as they always do there, well prepared. The kids are going to not only help to prepare it under the guidance of their chefs, but also serve it. And but it is by reservation. So if anybody would like to go, they need to call Red Sky in Southwest Harbor and make a reservation on April 29th. That works well.
We'll have information on it in the text here.
Right.
Is it Bolivia? Because
We are-
MDI is going to be Bolivia.
We are Bolivia. You always play a country. In the past, we've been Libya, we've been Armenia and Kenya, we've been Greece. They assign you a country based on the number of kids. We have 14 kids that are going, and then the kids are paired off, and each pair will work on an issue that's in a particular committee. So, for example, this year there's a couple of kids that are working on issues around vaccination around the world. There's human rights. There's issues around education of youth and children. They write a position paper, submit that actually to the people at the Model UN, which is basically run by volunteer college graduate students, and they will give us feedback, and then they go make proposals, try to pass resolutions, negotiate, and it's great because it's their flagship organization, and it's the flagship convention, and kids from around the planet come. I mean, Lebanon, China, kids from around the world
they're all
to New
coming
York
right to New York
to be at the UN. We go to the UN.
And you were saying that yes, you have kids that have traveled, but you also have kids that are basically leaving the island for the first time.
Well, I haven't really interviewed this batch of kids. I mean, MDI is interesting because we have kids who are extremely well-traveled, kids who are better traveled than I. But then occasionally I will get students who've really never been out of the state and never been on an airplane. And so it's an eye-opener going from MDI to New York.
And you go to Times Square at night, you were saying?
Yeah, we arrive and get settled into the hotel. We sort of snoop around the city because we stay in Midtown. We stay right on 42nd Street at the Grand Hyatt, or near the conference. One of the conferences is at the Grand Hyatt, but we stay in Midtown. And then in the evening, I take them over to Times Square, and just emerging out of the subway for kids who've never been in the city into Times Square is really fun to watch their face. All eyes go up and everyone's eyes are wide open. It's really fun.
Well, it's amazing when you consider Bar Harbor is looking to be one of those pristine areas with not having a lot of lights at night.
Right, that's true.
And then you go to Times Square, where it's as bright as it is day.
It's day at night, and there's so much action, and there's so many. I mean, I have to say that the one thing about being there, it's a big city and everything. The thing about it is, it's a little artificial in the sense that we are tourists among many tourists. I have a friend who works on Times Square, and he complains about needing to get to work, and as he says, all of Nebraska is there when he's trying to get to work.
Well, it's kind of like Bar Harbor in the summer.
It's exactly right, and the kids groove on that. But the fact that it is. I mean, when I grew up, we called it the city. Right. The city. So it's really fun for that. We go see a play, a Broadway show, since we're there. Get cheap tickets, and one year I just randomly picked In the Heights, which went on to win the Tony later. We were blown away and didn't know anything about the play. We were blown away by it. So we go see a show, and then most of the day, though, of the 2 days that we're there, Friday and Saturday, are taken up by negotiating and in meetings and trying to actually act like sessions of the UN where you're passing resolutions or trying to get them passed. Yeah. And at the end, there's an award ceremony. It's actually a sort of a competitive event. They hand out awards for best delegations and best papers and stuff, and that always gets kids' attention. And we've done all right. I don't know about this year, but there have been many years where we're the only school in the state to do this, to go to New York and do this.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for the kids.
I think so. Yep, they're good guys. We've been doing that to the other thing to raise some money, but we're getting close now.
All right, and then you've been here for so long. Mm-hmm. What's the best thing about teaching at MDI High School?
Well, there's a couple things. For one thing, I like the trust and the freedom to do what I think I need to do with these guys. The flexibility, and you know, there's a lot of states in the country where the states themselves, there's a state education board that, for example, buys textbooks, like Texas.
Yeah.
You know, everyone does that. I have a conversation with my department head, and we kick it around, and we look at some things, and then I'll order a book, you know, because I think that this fits what we need to do, and that's really wonderful. And I also think that the support of the community, the value that people have here for what happens inside this building and what happens to kids, you know, is really it's extraordinary. There are schools that have very, very large classrooms, and there's people walk through metal detectors, and you know, it's just a different relationship. I can have a really honest relationship with the kids here, and they can have an honest one with me. And I mean, sometimes that can get in the way, but like anything. But mostly, I would say that is really good. It's the kids and the community. I would say, though, that I mean, for every good thing, there's a bad side to it, and I think the kids are really committed. They're very busy kids here, and they've gotten busier since I've been teaching, so it's hard to slice in this, that, and the other thing.
You've been here 18 years. You've had to have seen a lot of changes. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen? I mean, obviously technology is...
That's a huge one. Yeah, I mean, any teacher who's been doing it for a while will tell you that, you know, we went from a computer in every once in a while in a classroom, or a classroom with computers in it, to kids walking around with laptops, and that is a sea change. And it's not just a sea change in the technology itself, but I think it really is having an impact on the expectations that students have and the way that students think.
Good or bad?
Well, it can be...
Or both?
I think the access to information is great, as long as you vet the information, and you know, because there's a lot of junk out there.
Wikipedia.
Well, yeah, I mean, Wikipedia is fine for a starting place. You know, if you scroll to the bottom and you click on one of the footnotes and it looks reasonable and somebody's got some credentials, but the thing that I find difficult is that the way I approach education is when I can, I like to give kids the pieces to a puzzle, like a historical puzzle, and then say, given these circumstances or given this information, you know, what do you think is the outcome, or what would you do, that kind of a thing. And it's easy now to just sort of find out what the narrative is just by Googling it. I guess you could always do that with books too, but it's just so easy to do that. And sometimes I don't want the kids to know what the story is first. Right. You know, I want them to like construct their own story, and then, well, let's find out what really happened, you know. So in a sense, having information, and not only information, but explanations so easily available, can be a shortcut that I'd rather avoid. On the other hand, you know, if something is going on in class and something pops up where I want to show them a slice of I Love Lucy, or a civil defense DOD film from the 50s, you know, given that the technology works, and funny for me, the running joke with me is something always goes wrong, but you know, given the technology works, I can pop it up there and we can take a look at that, and that starts a whole new conversation. So that's pretty mind-blowing. Yeah,
I mean, when you consider all everything that's on YouTube, that's available.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to then get the film projector and it's arranged to have
when we were kids, right? They were movies. They were. There was always
there was a film strip.
I still have a film strip projector, which I will occasionally use. Haul out. I have old film strips, training film strips, education ones from the 50s, and it's fun to turn that. And, you know, yeah, you had the 16 millimeter Hemo the Magnificent, the 16 millimeter film that always there was one kid that knew how to use the projector in the AV club.
Yeah, I think I actually went around.
Were you an AV club guy?
Yeah, it was scary. But and now, I mean, I'm deadly with cameras. So,
Right.
And hopefully this video will turn out.
Yeah.
But the technology, I guess, is great, but it's also, as you said, it has its drawbacks. Without any question.
And you know, and other, you know, kids. I mean, kids are kids. You know, they got a phone. You know, in your not great moment, all of a sudden you're not looking, and they got a shot of you. You know, and all of a sudden it's Snapchatty, and it's funny, but it's also kind of a pain sometimes.
Right.
But you know, I mean, one of the things that we talk about that I like to ask the kids in class is questions of technology. You know, because I think in our society because we are who we are, we're naturally enamored of technology and tend to think that technologies fix problems, and they do. I mean, you know, our artificial limbs and medical technology and all these things are great. There's no doubt about it. But I think that you can also step back and look at the social, cultural impact of technology being neutral, that there are downsides and that there are upsides. And so instead of just being sucked in and enamored and saying, look what this new gadget does, look, this thing, Facebook, we can be anywhere in the world, we can talk to each other, and you know, I would love my students to be able to take a deep breath when things happen, and what I like to tell them is try to hover above the situation and look down and say, well, what might this really mean,
right.
You know? And then, I guess, get sucked into it mindlessly.
Well, and I think that's the danger of all this technology, is that it's information overload, and we're on a 24/7 news cycle. I mean, growing up, living in Bermuda, and you tell people this nowadays, and they look at you like you had 7 arms, but we used to get the CBS News with Walter Cronkite a day late.
Right, and that was big.
Because it would be flown over onto the island, and they would show it. Monday Night Football would be a week late. The World Series would be a day late.
And people gathered to watch it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, I mean, now it's, you know, you get a tweet with the latest scoring. You get, you know, I mean, it's just, here's a latest, you know, an instant message. This happened. If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah, and I think the challenge that we have is, I mean, I don't know that we have, I wouldn't call it an information revolution. I think we may have a data revolution.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how informed we are. But you're not informed simply by taking data in. You have to process it. You have to give meaning to it. There needs to be some, like I said, some narrative. It can't just be, I mean, you can make sense of raw numbers. You can make sense of factoids, but we have to give the kids the wherewithal to, again, at the very least, slow down, take a deep breath, and look at things. And I'm not really expecting the kids to remember all of the specifics that they've learned in class in terms of history. But I would hope that they would say, wow, there was this era, it was the Reformation, and these are the kinds of things that happened in the Reformation. And if they're curious, they know where to start, or they have a sense of history. Because, you know, let's be honest, I mean, you know, they're not going to remember all those factoids, and nor do they have to. They just need the wherewithal to not be fooled.
Yeah, and it's easy to be fooled.
It's really easy to be fooled with technology, and I mean, it's always been easy in a sense. I mean, it's happened from generation to generation, and we think that all of the new gadgets we have keeps us from being fooled. And you know, in certain circumstances it is, but you know,
you look at Snopes, and I mean, you know, it's a full-time living debunking all the latest rumors.
Right, and some of the things that used to be urban myths have sunk so much into our narrative, our history, if you will, that they become history. And that's part of the fun thing, is snopesing out, if you will, or giving a different perspective to things that have happened that you want to take another look at and think about. That's why, kids are, why do we have to learn history? It's already done. There's nothing left. I mean, it's done, what else left to learn? But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of layers to that, a lot of layers to the history.
Yeah, and a lot of it you don't want to repeat. So if you don't learn it, you run the danger of allowing things to happen again.
Or watch out for false repetition. Is I mean, the narrative, the questions we're having like right now over this supposed deal with Iran, if it goes forward, is this another Munich? Is that a good historical parallel? Is it, or is it not appeasement? Is that a poor historical narrative? And for all of the focus that we have on sort of practical things in school, math and science and reading and writing, which are obviously vitally important, the thing about history, which is, again, kids sometimes don't see the use in it, but if you watch the political dialogue that happens on a daily basis, somewhere along the line, somebody's going to stand up and say, this is just like.
Right.
And so, is it? I mean, these are very weighty issues. And if you really want to see how important the study of history is, for example, just decide officially what version of history you're going to go with. And then you'll have kids on strike, or parents picketing, or, if you leave people in, and, what's the version that you're going to do? I mean, even AP US History, even the College Board has come under attack for what its supposed version is, and it really doesn't have one, but its version of history is in, say, Oklahoma, where, the state of Oklahoma is kicking around the idea of not having AP US History offered, because they considered it to be incorrect history. Now, whether you believe that or not, the point is that obviously it touches a nerve. It's important. So I hope these guys at least come away with that from me, that it's important.
What's the one thing that people don't know about you that you're going to confess to right now?
What's the one thing that people don't know about me? Let's see. I get choked up in movies too easily.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a
softie.
I will allow my emotions to be manipulated, which is I've been working on that. I'm sure there's a 12-step program out there somewhere.
No, that's important.
Yeah.
I'm a softie when I see videos. I mean, and movies, and especially after a tougher day. I mean, you see stuff like this, and instantly my throat becomes choked.
Oh yeah.
And
you need to get up and get a glass of water.
There's dust that often gets in my eyes.
I know. Yeah. So I have to sit strategic places when I go to Real Pizza or something, and so.
What do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, for a while I was playing in a rock and roll band, and
what instrument?
I play the blues harmonica, and supposedly sing. And the other thing that I really like to do is theater. I've done theater in this school and Acadia Community Theater. I've directed plays there, helped start that theater a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
So theater is the thing I like, and I've been away from it, but now I'm really jonesing to do that again. So music and telling stories in theater, I like that.
Okay. The camera's yours. What do you want to tell the MDI community?
What do I want to tell the MDI community? I want to say thanks for lending me your kids. I want to say I'm sorry for any mistakes I may have made, because I think everyone should do that. And I also want to say this is the time of the year. Remember, we're blessed in that you can be outside on a nice warm day and still put a beverage in a snowbank. and sun yourself, and we should take advantage of that all the time.
I'll be happy to get rid of the snowbank. So to be honest,
This is true.
with you,
This is true. But bust your lawn chair out, find a nice snowbank,
Yeah.
sun, and cooler right next to
There's a lot to be said for that.
Well,
There's a lot to be said for just not even seeing snow till next November or
Right.
December. All right, thank you very much. That's
Thanks,
this
Chris.
week. That's this week. Meet the MDI Teacher. We hope you enjoyed this video. Check out, I think we've got 18 others now up on the website. And check out all the videos we have on the WDEA YouTube channel.
Bye.